ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाखय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So last time we had halted at the 43rd shloka, and today we will be moving at the 44th shloka. So says Bhoga Ishwarya Prasaktanam Tayarpita Chetasam Vyavasayitmika Buddhi Samadho Na Vidhiyate. So translation: in the mind of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Sushil Prabhu, please read this translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Samadhi means fixed mind. The Vedic dictionary, the Nirokti says, Samyak adhiyate asmin atma tattva yatha atmamyam. When the mind is fixed for understanding the self, it is said to be in Samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for persons interested in material sense enjoyment and bewildered by such temporary things. They are more or less condemned by the process of material energy. Hare Krishna. Mataji, you may be in mute, Mataji.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Sorry. So, in this particular shloka where he is saying that Bhoga Ishvara Prasaktanam, when one is attached to Bhoga, Bhoga means sense gratification, and one is attached to even Aishwarya or opulence, then one becomes attached to sense gratification and opulence. And then one's consciousness becomes, you can say, abducted or becomes, apaharita chetasa. So Krishna has heard Arjuna use the same, reference even earlier when Arjuna mentioned that logo apahat chetasa. So Arjuna states that, our consciousness is abducted by, greed, lobha. And that is why we contemplate, killing people, and which includes even our own relatives for the sake of wealth. So Krishna is declaring that this entire calculation based on wealth and enjoyment or bhoga and aishwarya actually is rooted in ignorance. And that is why apahat chetasa, when he's saying that apahat chetasa means that the mind is actually bewildered. The material consciousness itself is a sign of having lost one's consciousness to the abduction of material desires, which means what we are completely, abducted by these material desires. So when somebody's consciousness is, abducted, so that clear thinking is not possible. That vyavasayitmika buddhi is not really possible, where Krishna had mentioned in the 41st shloka also. So then that is why he's saying that is why if somebody's consciousness is fixed, then he will not be allured by Bhog and Aishwarya. And if somebody's consciousness is not fixed, he cannot achieve the transcendental destination. And that is why those who are not fixed, those who are attracted to material things, and Krishna is advising Arjuna that, see, don't become too attached to, material things indirectly, which is implying that if one is attracted to material things, then one will not attain that pinpointed attention of the mind. Vyavasaitmika buddhi means that one pointed attention, if somebody wants for their mind, then that will not be able, that he will not be able to achieve. So, even in our spiritual lives, this insight is very much significant, because we all understand that how attachment binds us, but we must ask ourselves that how much do I have to lose before I, become blind or lose my blindness. And even if you see Dhritarashtra also, he also, he was, though he was not only physically blind, but he was intellectually and spiritually also blind. And why he was blind? Because he was too attached to Duryodhana. And in spite or despite of receiving so many advices from Vidura, Bhishma, Drona, Sanjay, Gandhari, Vyas Muni, Maitri Rishi, Narad Muni, his attachment continued to blind him. And that is why Dhritarashtra had to lose everything. He lost all his 100 sons. He lost his dignity. And that's how, how Vidura also severed that attachment. So, of course, we do not have to lose, so much to overcome our blindness. We are very lucky that we have got Srila Prabhupada and the, books and the association of devotees. And that is why we can utilize the spiritual knowledge by studying and hearing the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And then when you study these scriptures, then what will happen? We cut off that attachment one by one. Okay, I'm attached to this thing. Like the other day, my sister and myself, we were discussing that, Didi, so much attachment we have even for our Google photos, that the Google Drive gives us some 15 GB. And then this photo, that photo, let me keep that. Even we have so much of subtle attachment also. And how are we going to, get rid of that subtle attachments also? And otherwise, then if we are too much attached, then we'll have to, endure continuous suffering, birth after birth, birth after birth. So this particular shloka is helping us to contemplate on how much we have to lose before we can overcome our own blindness. And we are not blind to only our children. We are blind to so many other things in our life. We are blind to so many subtle things also in our life. So that is why when, he's saying over here that Taya arpita chetasam apaharita. So apaharita means that it has been kidnapped. So what has been kidnapped? My consciousness has been kidnapped. And like, if a child is going to school and somebody, just, kidnaps him, and he's asking some, ransom amount. So that particular criminal will say, okay, give so many lakh rupees. So even while we are doing our spiritual duties, or while we are even, say in the morning, we are chanting our rounds and we are engaging in Krishna conscious activities, we may have our consciousness being kidnapped by even lust and greed. kama and lobha. So then that's why our thoughts no longer center on Krishna. And that ransom for that, hostage becomes, indulgence. And we may think that, by indulging in our desires, the desires will, dissipate, and then we can find some peace and we can do as we please. No. If indulgence is, within this limits of our dharma, then it may provide some, relief, but it will not release us. It will, it will in fact keep on binding us. And that is why the difference between a relief and release. So is that relief will ease our trouble, while release will free us from, those troubles. So indulgence does not guarantee release. So in fact, indulging in lust only will strengthens that desire, and it will lead us to greater difficulties in overcoming it in the future. So if that criminal who is there, who has received that ransom amount, and he continues to repeat that act with one child, two child, three children, so we must be very much careful, or we must be very vigilant enough to prevent our consciousness from being kidnapped again. So we must so what should we do? Then we should guard our consciousness to ensure that nobody will kidnap that consciousness, and our consciousness will always remain in Krishna only and not any other thing. So you know it is like a conscious effort we make to be conscious. Make a conscious effort to be conscious. So we must be very extremely cautious that lust and greed you can lead us to a down path. And if it is leading us to a down path, then we keep on keep on paying those ransom amounts, and we become completely addicted, and we become even lost, addicted to many other things that are there. So like some persons are addicted to wine and women. Some people will be addicted to Facebook. Some people will be addicted to WhatsApp, Twitter, YouTube, and all that. So how much control should I have on my gadgets? How much control should I have on moving out and talking unnecessarily? How much should I have control over, even if I'm meeting somebody, then how much prajalpa pe control hona chahiye mera? That all, that all we need to be conscious about. Otherwise, it is very difficult to guard our consciousness. So, uh, mm, uh, and what will happen is we will pay that ransom after a very long time, because the desire will resurface again and again, and at that point we are deeply entangled. So to it becomes very challenging to actually even remove ourselves from that position. So um, of course it is possible to break free by directing our attachment to Krishna. If we direct our attachment to Krishna, then definitely all those ties will be severed off. Severed yani cut off ho jayega. So when we fill our minds with Krishna, or when Krishna fills our minds, then nobody can kidnap our consciousness. And that is why consciousness and mind are used interchangeably, because consciousness is directed through the mind, right? So the mind serves as the pathway for consciousness. And therefore, when we say chetasam, So when we say Chetasa, so then actually hamari Chetana, it is referring to our consciousness only over here. When I am saying चेतना को बदलना है, लेकिन वो चेतना कैसे बदलेगी? वो मन के माध्यम से ही वो चेतना बदलेगी. And so and this soul is connected to the material world through the mind. So if we fill our consciousness with Krishna and engage, in the service of the Supreme Lord Krishna, then his presence becomes it becomes strongest, and strongest deterrent to lust, anger, greed, and many other disturbances that are attempting to kidnap our consciousness. So if a child has many bodyguards, he will not be harmed by anybody. He'll remain unharmed. And then if we have Krishna by our side, then nobody can harm us like that. So we can safeguard ourselves and protect our consciousness from material attachments. And this protection is possible only when we recognize the danger where Krishna even keeps on warning us. And if we continue to, endeavor for these material attachments and do not give them up, then of course lust and greed will continue to, kidnap our consciousness. So that is why very important that the other day I was hearing His Grace Radha Prabhu's class, and it was a very nice, striking thing. He's saying that in the day, whatever, whatever happens to you, you should learn to take ashray or shelter of Krishna. Anything happening, your hand should go into the bead bag. Anything you want, your hand should go in the bead bag. And that's how we will express our dependence on Krishna. And when we express a dependence on Krishna, then Krishna also thinks that, oh, he's dependent on me only. He has nobody else to depend on. And that's how Krishna, helps us and guards us, our consciousness. Because the more we are guarded by, Krishna and his service, then the more lesser we will be allured with the greed and lust that way. So okay, let's go to the next. So just give me 1 minute. I just want to see in my notes, have I forgotten something? Because I just opened my book right now to see if I've forgotten something. Yeah, okay, I think I've covered most of the points. So then, in the next sloka, Krishna is saying that, so then, because, so because when somebody is very attached to Bhog and Aishwarya, then he cannot have one-pointed attention or intelligence. So then Krishna is telling, so he's telling Arjuna that, Arjuna, you rise above this Vedic karma kanda. So that is why he's saying that rise above the three modes. Saying that Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nitraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. Sejal Mataji, please read translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Purport. All material activities involve actions and reactions in the three modes of material nature. They are meant for fruitive results which cause bondage in the material world. The Vedas deal mostly with fruitive activities to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. Arjuna, as a student and a friend of Lord Krishna, is advised to raise himself to the transcendental position of Vedanta philosophy, where in the beginning there is Brahma Jignasa, or questions on the supreme transcendence. All the living entities who are in the material world are struggling very hard for existence. For them, the Lord, after creation of the material world, gave the Vedic wisdom advising how to live and get rid of the material entanglement. When the activities for sense gratification, namely the Karma Kand chapter, are finished, then the chance for spiritual realization is offered in the form of the Upanishads, which are part of different Vedas. As the Bhagavad Gita is part of the fifth Veda, namely the Mahabharata. The Upanishads mark the beginning of transcendental life. As long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. One has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities, such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth, and by tolerating such dualities, become free from anxieties regarding gain or loss. This transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the God will of Krishna.
Good
Hare
will
Krishna.
of Krishna. Yeah, very nice. So thank you very much, Mataji. So see what he's saying that Traigunya Vishaya Veda. The subject of the Vedas is mainly the three modes of material nature. And then he is saying that Nistraigunya Bhavarjunaha. So he's saying that Arjuna, because the Vedas are mainly, dealing with the three modes of material nature, what you do is you become transcendental to these three modes of material nature. And then further he's saying that Nirdvando Nitya Sattva Stho. She's saying that Nirdvando, you become free from all these dualities. And then you become sthit in what? You become stated in what? Sattva Sthaha. You become stated in pure spiritual state. And then he's saying that Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. So he's saying that because you will be stated, you will be situated in this pure spiritual state, then you will become free from all these anxieties of gain and safety, and you will be completely situated in your own self. So being situated in your own self, established in self means what? Established in self means you will be established in your own spiritual consciousness. आपका जो original state है, you will be established. You will be actually situated into your own spiritual consciousness. So that is why he's saying that bhakti is beyond the three modes, and by performance of bhakti, a person will transcend the three modes and he will be situated in Shuddha Sattva level. The fourth state, that is when he is transcending, तो होता है कि तमोगुण, रजोगुण and satogun. And above satogun is, Shuddha Sattva level. So that is why all this jnana and karma cannot be said to be nistraigunya. Nistraigunya means, above the three modes. Okay, because there is presence of sattva also in jnana. There is passion or rajas in karma also. So that is why he's saying that Nistraigunya Vishaya Veda. So it is referring to the Vedas which are discussing these subjects related to the three modes. All these Vedas, three modes ki baare mein hi, it will start. So in the Bhagavad Gita, what is Krishna advising Arjuna? That you please transcend these three modes and become Nistraigunya. You become beyond the influence of these three modes. And then he is telling Arjuna that you become nirdvando. Nirdvanda. Dvanda yani duality. So you become nirdvando, free from dualities. and Nitya Sattvastho. So then you become situated in Nitya Sattva. Eternally, you become situated in eternal goodness. That is Shuddha Sattva level. And that is why in this world also, if you see, this Sattva Guna also, actually it implies existence. And Krishna is advising Arjuna to be situated in spiritual existence. That is Nitya Sattva. So, Krishna also emphasizes that Arjuna should be niryogo kshema. Okay, Atmavan. So, without, without any concerns for profit or loss, or any safety means protection also, right? Gain and protection also. So, which means what? That don't hanker for too many possessions, worldly possessions also of life. So, Krishna is saying that you go beyond these considerations also. So, Atmavan means actually the one who is the possessor of the soul. Atmavan, established himself, the one who's possessing the soul. So, we are souls by nature, but when we become Atmavan, means we become spiritually aware of our own selves. See, a person may possess, a lot of wealth, and, he can come from a very, aristocratic family. But if somebody is very much intoxicated or he is blind by some material desires, then he lacks spiritual awareness. And however, if he's freed from such blindness, then he will understand what is the true purpose, and then he will be able to act based on the spiritual understanding. So becoming Atmavan means acting on the spiritual platform. And to achieve the spiritual awareness, one needs to transcend the three modes, Nistraigunya. And because why? This Nistraigunya, these three modes only keep us bounded in the material existence. So, this knowledge that Bhagavad Gita is actually giving us, particularly this practice of Karma Yoga, it is helping us to go beyond the three modes. And that is why, if you see, from 38 shloka, where Krishna is saying fight as a duty, and rise beyond equanimity in duality. Sukha dukhek samakritva labha labho jaya jayo. In that particular shloka, he is saying that Krishna is contrasting karma kanda, which is the path of fruitive activity. So with Karma Yoga, so what is the path of Karma Yoga? Let's understand that the path of Karma Yoga is the path of selfless action towards Krishna. You selflessly serve Krishna. You selflessly love Krishna. Okay, so then he highlights that by becoming, situated in the spiritual platform, then one will become Atmavan. Okay, and Krishna is advising Arjuna also that, okay, you please transcend these dualities and you become situated into Nitya Sattva. And Nitya Sattva means only your eternal existence on the transcendental platform. So he's saying that don't worry about, loss or gain, and you just remain focused on your spiritual path. So that is why when we follow Krishna's these instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, then we will become Atmavan. We will become situated on the spiritual platform. So this is what he's saying in this particular shloka. So let's go to the next. Now in the next shloka, he'll say what? Okay, because he spoke about karma kanda, he's speaking about the subject of the Vedas. So then, what is the purpose of the Vedas? Okay, of course, in the 15th chapter also, Krishna has given what is the purpose of the Vedas. But here also, he's saying that please know what is the purpose of the Vedas. So he's saying that यावानार्थ उदपाने सर्वतः संप्लुतोके तावन् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मण्यस्य विजानतः. So he says that, yeah, somebody read this. Rupa Mataji, please, read this translation and quote it both.
Hare Krishna. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. Purport. The rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karmakanda division of the Vedic literature are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization, and the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita 15.15. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know the Lord Krishna, the primeval cause of everything. So self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with him. The relationship of the living entities with Krishna is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita 15.7. The living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna.
Therefore,
revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest perfectional stage of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7 as follows.
अहो बत स्वत्पचो अतो गरीयान् यज्जिह्वाग्रे वर्तते नाम तुभ्यं ते पुस्तपस्ते जुहुबौ संसुनुर् आर्य ब्राह्मणनुचूर्नाम गृह्णन्ति ये ते. Yeah, read the translation, Mataji.
O my Lord, a person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a low family like that of Chandala, dog eater, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to Vedic rituals and studied the Vedic literatures many, many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family.
That's a nice shloka.
So,
nice shloka. Yeah, Mataji, read ahead. Yeah.
So one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of the Vedas without being attached to the rituals only, and must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gratification. It is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals, nor is it possible to study all of the Vedanta and the Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time, energy, knowledge, and resources to execute the purposes of the Vedas. This is hardly possible in this age. The best purpose of Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord as recommended by the Lord Chaitanya, the deliverer of all fallen souls. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by a great Vedic scholar, Prakashananda Saraswati, why he, the Lord, was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist instead of studying Vedanta philosophy, the Lord replied that his spiritual master has found him to be grateful and thus asked him to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. He did so and became ecstatic like a madman. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. The chanting The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom, and the author and the knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna. And the highest Vedantist is the great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. So, if you see over here, all purposes served by a small well are fulfilled by a great water body. So let's, see Udapane. This Sanskrit word Udapane in a well of water. So, Udapane is referred to the small bodies of water, such as well. And then this Samplutake, great reservoir, this one over here. So it refers to the water flowing everywhere like a river, reservoir water. So Krishna is saying that whatever purpose is served by the well is also served by the flowing water. And that is why Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu, he's saying that. So the purpose of all the Vedas is served by a Brahmana who knows the purpose of the Vedas, a transcendentalist. Okay. So Brahmanasya, the one who knows, the purpose of the Vedas. Okay. So that is completely served by such a Brahmana. So, what is the, this of this particular verse? He's saying that if Krishna told Arjuna that, see, the Vedas talk about the three modes, and one has to go beyond the three modes, and then one can give up the following the Vedic literature also. It is not actually about giving up, but it is about going beyond the Vedas, and how one how does one go beyond that. So in the Vedic culture, there are different wells that serve different purposes. Like, for example, there is a well for washing clothes. There is a well for drinking water. There is a well for some other purpose of the body, right? And so when there is a river flowing, then the water keeps flowing and it takes care of the other things also, those things also. So the Vedic literature, there are different, injunctions given for fulfilling various desires. Like these things are very, discussed elaborately in Vedas also. And these Vedas have an ultimate purpose also. What is the purpose of the Vedas? The purpose of the Vedas is to take everyone towards Krishna. And if one understands that ultimate purpose, then they can understand that all these different Vedic rituals are there, and they don't give them up, but they go beyond those rituals. So the wells are for the sake of water, and in the river there is abundance of water that can serve any purpose. So the Vedas give injunction for different purposes, but the ultimate purpose of the Vedas is, as Krishna actually mentioned over here, is Vedescha Sarvera Aham Eva Vedyo. The purpose of studying the Veda is to know Krishna, the primeval cause of everything, and to know him, to love him, and to return back home, back to Godhead, back to him. So still now Krishna has not introduced himself until now, but he is pointing out that real purpose of the Vedas. And real purpose of the Vedas is not the three modes. It is beyond the three modes, which is what one has to actually seek for. And if one seeks that, then he becomes if he's seeking, then he becomes a Brahmanasya Vijnataha, one who has a Brahman who has complete knowledge and who knows everything. So this is what he's saying over there. So, okay, in this particular section where we saw that Krishna is speaking about Buddhi Yoga, detached work without any reactions and all. But how do I practice that then? How do I practice? Because this section is about Nishkam Karma Yoga. Krishna is educating Arjuna on Nishkam Karma Yoga. Then how do I practice Nishkam Karma Yoga? So in the next 3 shlokas, Krishna will tell Arjuna that how to practice Nishkam Karma Yoga. So now he is saying that कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्भु मा ते संगोस्तव अकर्मणि. So he is saying that, somebody read the translation so that while the translation is being read, Priyanka, please read the translation and the purport both.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities and never be attached to not doing your duty. Purport. There are 3 considerations here: prescribed duties, capricious work, and inaction. Prescribed duties are activities enjoined in terms of one's acquired modes of material nature. Capricious work means actions without the sanction of authority, and inaction means not performing one's prescribed duties. The Lord advised that Arjuna not be inactive, but that he perform his prescribed duty without being attached to the result. One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. Thus, he is the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such actions. As far as prescribed duties are concerned, they can be fitted into 3 subdivisions, namely routine work, emergency work, and desired activities. Routine work performed as an obligation in terms of the scriptural injunctions without desire for results is action in the mode of goodness. Work with results becomes the cause of bondage. Therefore, such work is not auspicious. Everyone has his proprietary right in regard to prescribed duties, but should act without attachment to the result. Such disinterested obligatory duties doubtlessly lead one to the path of liberation. Arjun was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. His non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. Such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for bondage. Inaction is also sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you so much. So he's saying that he's saying that you have a right to perform your prescribed duty. Okay. And he's saying ma phaleshu kadachana. So you are not entitled to the results of your action. And then he's saying that ma karma phala hetur bhur. So don't consider or never consider yourself the cause of the result of your activities. In the sense, you don't consider yourself the you don't desire the results of your actions. And then he's saying that ma te sango astav akarmani. He's saying that never be attached to not doing your duty. Sometimes we think we should not do only any duty, or we should not do any action, so no reaction. So she's saying that, by thinking that the results are not yours anyway, or by fearing that the results will cause bondage. So don't do that way. And over here, if you see, he's talking about three things. He's talking about karma yoga. Sorry, he's talking about karma. He's talking about vikarma, and he's talking about akarma. So karma matlab kya? Whatever prescribed duties are enjoined to that particular person, according to his nature. And there are, there are three types of actually karma. One is your nitya karma. Nitya karma, your routine duties, whatever you're doing, whether they're auspicious, whether they're inauspicious. Then there are kamya karma, or your desired activities. And then there are, the emergency duties also, right? So, vikarma means, any action that is without the sanction of the authority, right? So, for example, somebody is, stealing something, somebody is killing somebody. That is called vikarma. It is not sanctioned by the authority. It is not sanctioned in the Vedas. So for us, the ultimate authority is the Vedas, right? And then akarma. Akarma means inaction or not performing one's prescribed duties. तो एक है कर्मा, मतलब क्या? आप अपना prescribed duties कर रहे हो, as per your own nature. One is vikarma. You are doing actions against the sanction of the authority. And third is akarma. So akarma is not performing your prescribed duties, or you're doing inaction. So Arjuna's not fighting is another side of attachment, which does not lead to liberation. So any attachment you have, whether positive or negative, will be the cause of bondage. So vikarma and akarma are actually sinful. So fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path for liberation for him. Okay. So this is what he said. So if you see karma yoga, till now we have actually discussed superiority of karma over karma kanda. All these, sections that we did from 38 shloka till, you can say, 46 shloka. So karma yoga is to be practiced, in that particular section. We see that in a chronological flow of Bhagavad Gita, as we are, talking about karma yoga. And at the same time, these characteristics can also apply to bhakti yoga also. Like, let's see these characteristics of karma yoga from 38 shloka. Okay. He's saying that be equal in happiness and distress, gain or loss, and fight for the sake of duty. And that is why you will not incur any sin. Or, please act on the platform of body and soul. Sorry, on the platform of soul. Okay. And engage your buddhi or intelligence, into buddhi yoga. And that is how you will become free from karma bandhan. And then he's telling that, okay, there is no loss or diminution. Neha Bhikkarmanas. There is no loss or diminution in this yoga. And how will you be able to achieve all this, this final destination? If you will be, if you will have your Vyavasaitmika intelligence, and you will be pinpointedly, doing your own prescribed duty, and you'll engage your intelligence in serving the Supreme Lord. And then he's giving a contrast also in the next shloka that, intelligent people will follow this one pointed, goal, but those who are not intelligent will not follow the Vedas. And then he's telling that what will be the obstacles for this one-pointed intelligence? What will be the obstacles for this Vyavasaitmika Buddhi? Then he's saying Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktanam. And that is why Krishna is saying you rise above this Vedic Karma Kanda. And Vedic Karma Kanda means Vedas, the purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. And that is why you will also get that eternal result that we require that one-pointed intelligence, and this can apply to even general transcendentalists also, and this can apply to even bhakti yoga also. So within this sequential flow of Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna has not very much explicitly referred to himself, he's referring to karma yoga, but Srila Prabhupada refers everything in the Gita to its ultimate conclusion, and from that perspective all the sections can be seen as referring to Krishna consciousness also. Every shloka is saying about Krishna consciousness. So this verse is such a famous verse that it is not, many times people don't understand it clearly. So only 1/4 of this verse is quoted. Karmane dekaraste, we have a right, to do our karma. But this particular shloka has 4 parts. So the first part we are saying that we have the right to do our karma. And then he's saying that ma phaleshu kadachana. The second part is saying that we don't have the right for the fruits of our karma. We should not demand the fruit. Ma karma phale hetur bhur. Okay. And then he is saying that one should not think himself the producer of the fruits also. And then ma te sango astav akarmani. One should not think that because I shouldn't get the fruits, so I will not do only karma. What is the use of doing karma then? So, we call it as the half hen logic. Like if you take one, if one takes the Bhagavad Gita, only those sections which fit into, our worldview, and we reject, we reject those which don't fit into our worldview, then we miss out on, much of what Bhagavad Gita, is offering to us. So Bhagavad Gita can offer to us an all-round, elevation understanding of ourself and God or Krishna and our relationship also. So that will come if we accept Bhagavad Gita as it is. We don't, concoct, or we don't mix anything. So, because most of the people, they quote only the first line, karmanadhikariste. I have the right to do my work. So actually speaking, what does this verse actually talk about here is that if we look at the flow of Bhagavad Gita, essentially, the Lord is talking to seek the eternal and don't seek the temporary. He's saying that he has talked about the eternal soul in the same chapter from, shlokas, I think 11 to 30, he has spoken so much about the soul. Then he's telling, to be detached from this material, world or the material things. And then, then that section that we discussed, from 38, Sukhe Dukhe Samakritva, that means that you are an eternal soul and everything is material in this, and it is superficial. So don't be excited about that. And you be equipoised, whether you are in happiness, whether you are in distress. And after this, he talked about the superiority of this over-seeking material good things. He is describing the way to attain, the eternal form. So, if you look at this, these 4 parts of this particular shloka, the first part is where he's saying that karmanikdarikraste. So we have the right to do work. Actually, most people think that we have the right to the result. We don't care whether we have right to work or not. It is, like even students don't want to work, but they want the result. That's why if you see, they have these last minute guides and important ones, and important exams, or last minute references books and all that, and things like that. They wanted to put least effort and they want the results. So people think that I have a right to do work, but Bhagavad Gita says the opposite. Bhagavad Gita says that you have the right to work, but don't or do not consider that you have the right to the fruits. You work, but you don't have the right to the fruits. So work is performed in this material world, not only for material results, but also for the spiritual results. So somebody might wonder that how can work produce spiritual result? So it depends actually on the kind of work it is. If somebody is doing his own activity, but not according to the scripture, but according to some worldly standard, what is right and what is wrong, then somebody continues at an ordinary worldly level. But if one understands this spiritual knowledge and tries to practice spiritual knowledge, then one understands that I am the soul and I will rise to the level of the soul. And I will rise to the level of the soul. And how will I rise to the level of the soul? I will rise to the level of the soul by purifying myself. I will chant, I will purify myself. And then purifying the self means what? It means that my soul is Satchit Ananda, and everything which makes the soul forget this Satchit Ananda nature, in one sense, impurity. Now those things are, gross sensory, or, they're, immoral pleasures. They are, very impure from their spiritual point of view. And these are not, what do you say? These are not favorable. These are in fact anti-spiritual, and they are choking, and they're checking out the spiritual life. So like when the purpose of studying is actually you learn, and the byproduct is to perform in the exam. So by study, not only we learn the subject, but by this our mind, a mind grows by study. You actually go into very deeper thought by studying. So by study, the person develops thinking and reasoning, and some he grasps also, and he has a good understanding also of that subject. And all these are a byproduct that leads to good marks in the examination. So similarly, when we do our worldly duty with spiritual understanding, of life, it enables us to grow in our inner understanding. It actually helps us develop that knowledge. So when I'm acting in detachment, by the understanding that I am not the body, I am the soul, it increases. So the purpose of that action is to grow in wisdom, and not just to acquire the fruit. So when a person acts in knowledge, then that knowledge deepens further. ज्ञान विज्ञान में कब परिवर्तित होता है? जब आप उस ज्ञान पे अमल करने लगते हो. So knowledge plus application is equal to realization. So Every work is done with an objective of some result. Ma phaleshu kadachanaha. And does not mean that one, does not care for the result. No, I don't care whether I'll be able to understand the Bhagavad Gita or not while reading, or I don't care whether how the food was when I cooked. Was it good? Whether it's bad? Whether it was cooked properly, whether it was not cooked properly. So this is the actually misunderstanding about this particular shloka. So Ma Phaleshu Kadachan does not mean that I shouldn't care for the result at all. No. It is result which motivates us. That is not wrong if we seek a particular result, but the idea is that we do our duty not for the result, but we do our duty because we know that through that we will get purification and we will be illumined, or we will get purification and we'll get illumination. So, our goal is to be purified and, illumination. And, the spiritual understanding increases by understanding Krishna Katha, by trying to internalize that. So, purification means all the impurities will subside because we are coming in contact with Krishna. So illumination means actually illumination means our spiritual understanding will increase. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. So this is primarily we seek when we are doing services. So our primary objective is to please Krishna. Even if result doesn't come out, Krishna will see the intention and he'll be pleased. So when we are doing book distribution, for a prize or for our purification, so we do the duty for result. Do it because it will purify us. It will do because it will please Krishna. And I will do it with the level of detachment that I have, like so. So this is what is it in a nutshell. I have lots to say about this particular shloka, but maybe I can just halt over here, because since we have another class also going on for reading. Sorry for that. We went 5-7 minutes above. I just didn't realize the time. Sorry. So, okay, dear devotees, thank you so much for the wonderful association of the Bhagavad Gita. I am relishing the Bhagavad Gita also in your association. Whether it be 2, 3, 4, 5, I am relishing in your association the Bhagavad Gita. So, we'll meet next Wednesday. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.